the port was open in those days, and drive around and knock on ship doors to see if anybody was going back to Europe, that I could work my way across the ocean.
Wow.
And I found somebody. And who did I find? I find an Israeli company called ZIM Ship Lines. Still exists. Well-known company today. And they told me they'll take me across. And I said, great. And they said, go to our office in Montreal and sign a release. We're not taking any responsibility if you fall over. We're not going to spend $2,000 going back around to pick you up if you would survive that long. They never said that, but that was
the implication.
Exactly. You know, and they were coming up. They were coming up from Chicago. Apparently, they had a crew of Chinese people on board that they took from somewhere in China or wherever they were. And when they got to the port in Chicago, I think about 10 or 15 Chinese guys jumped over the ship and swam and got lost in Chicago. So they were shorthanded. So,
So you were like a steward, I guess?
No, they wanted me to work in the boiler room.
Oh, wow. Okay. You were down in the hole.
Down
I was
in the
Navy
hole.
for 5 years. So
Yeah.
I cringe at some of the stories.
Yeah,
but-
hot.
Oh, yeah.
Hot in that.
It was a steam boiler that was
Yeah,
it coal or
no, hot.
okay.
Because we had a drive shaft that was about 200 feet long
Okay.
in the boiler room. And when I got there, I thought I was pretty unusual to do that. But when I got there, by the time we settled in, I met two other guys, both from Toronto. One guy was just graduating from university, was from Zagreb, Yugoslavia. He was going home to visit his family and had the same idea. But he didn't start in Toronto. He wanted to start in Montreal, because if you start in Montreal, they're leaving the St. Lawrence River. They're not coming up the St. Lawrence to the Great Lakes. They're already finished. So who wants to spend another month going up the Great Lakes before they come out of the Great Lakes? And I met another interesting fellow who was studying Kung Fu. And he was already a black belt. And his goal was to go overland all the way to Japan and to continue
Studying Kung Fu.
studying his Kung Fu and become a higher master.
Master Sensei or something along
Yeah,
those
yeah,
lines.
if that's the term, yeah. Both nice guys. And those were the three of us.
No, I got to ask, because I remember one of our prior conversations a few years back that, and I had longer hair, at one point back when we were doing like the weekly video calls with Josh and DeMarco and yourself and River, if you remember.
Right,
him.
yeah, nice guy. I liked River.
Yeah. And you said, which surprised me, that you had longer hair. Was this about that time?
No, much later.
Okay.
Much later. I was, when I took that ship, I was intrigued that they had come up from Chicago and they had a deal with Caterpillar. Some sort of grant with the Jewish community, and they were on board some very interesting things. If you travel around the world, you see things. If your eyes are open, if you have peripheral vision. It's like I go up and down to 400, and I'm always looking at trucks to see what businesses people are in. And my wife is always disturbed. Why did you keep your eyes on the road? I said, I just wasn't hardwired that way.
Yeah.
We go into a shopping center and she's looking at the storefronts. And I'm always looking at the signs. And she says, did you see that beautiful dress? I said, what dress? What store? Okay. And we've never been able to compromise of our intentions. So this is a continuation. So on this ship is a whole bunch of Caterpillars and what they now call engineering vehicles in Israel that were given to them and they were on the deck of our ship because you can't put them in the hole. Too big to get into the hole, but you can get them on the deck and tie them down. So these are like a half a dozen of these things, and there's a woman of means who's taking her horse either to an event in Europe or taking her horse home from an event in the States. Never saw her. In the morning, I used to see her from where I was above, and she'd be feeding the horse an apple or something like that, looking after it. And I remember that, interesting enough, there's a water line. You should not load your ship above this water line. But with everything we had on board, the water line was like 2 feet below where we were. I said, oh, this is going to be a dangerous ship. Turned out to be fine. We crossed the ocean. Coming back, not a 30-day, but we crossed the ocean in 10 days.
Wow.
Our first stop was Barcelona. Lyon said, oh, that's enough already. Why? For the first 6 or 7 days, I was bulimic. Whatever I put in came out.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it.
And being down below when you're seasick, because being in the Navy,
Yeah.
one thing you do is you go up on the top side and
Right.
focus on the horizon, because although you're moving, the horizon stays still.
Same, yeah.
And you get all the air and you feel better. But when you're inside
Yeah.
and everything's moving around, the vertigo and the seasickness intensifies.
Agreed. But we were blessed. The three of us were blessed because obviously we met the chief engineer. And the number one person on any ship is the engineer, not the captain. Okay, the engineer and the first mate. And the engineer, when he goes to sleep, behind him on his head, there's 3 gauges. That's all he's concerned with on the whole ship. Is, I guess, I knew one of them was oil pressure. I don't know what the other 2 gauges were, but, and the only reason I got to know that is we got to be friendly with the captain or the chief engineer. Any of you guys play chess? All of us put our hands up. Oh, it was just wonderful. Well, from that day forward, our mission at work was very easy. We used to go into this cabin in the evening. We used to play chess. We used to drink Hennessy cognac. Get real food, because we ate like everybody else during the day. He'd have real food come up, and we had a blast with him. During the day, my responsibility was to take a piece of sandpaper. We were sanding down the stainless steel drive shaft to its butt naked color, and we were repainting it, which in 7 days I got to do about a half of it. Okay, because it never stops, which makes it easier. So you run, and then how do you test it? You put your finger on it. When it cuts your finger, you still got to do more sanding.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Okay, so as you can understand, that's real life experience.
So this would have been about when? What time?
That was 1970.
Wow.
Yeah, 1970. Were you born then? Yeah.
I was 3. I was
Oh,
born in
there you go.
67.
Okay. I worked at the World's Fair in Montreal
Wow.
in 67.
So
I ran the